I'm Emily.
And I'm Hannah.
We are best friends and dietitians. We have a goal of challenging nutrition misinformation and fitness trends with an evidence-based approach.
Each episode, we will dish up our thoughts about the latest facts on a popular health-related topic.
We're the Up-Beet Dietitians. In this episode, we are joined by Andy De Santis, a private practice dietitian who specializes in one-on-one consultations with clients with a variety of nutrition-related goals, from weight management to addressing digestive health issues. Additionally, he's an avid writer and blogger who's been featured on a variety of print and online platforms.
Be sure to listen to the podcast to hear about Andy's experience with writing, how you can work with him, and to hear about his preference when it comes to sweet treats. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Up-Beet Dietitians podcast.
Hello, everyone. Hello, Andy, and welcome to the Up-Beet Dietitians pod. We're so excited to have you.
Looking forward to chatting.
Yes. Quickly, to just get us started and get right into things, why don't you tell us a bit about day in the life, what you do for work, your past education, and then kind of we can end that with fun hobbies you like to participate in.
Yeah, cool. So day in the life. I kind of mix, I think, working with people one-on-one, in my private practice, with communicating people more broadly. So via social media, my writing, whether my own website, whether like books or other like paid opportunities that I have for newspapers and stuff. So I mix and match one-on-one with like broader communication. And that kind of all started back, I got a master's degree in public health and nutrition back in the day, actually not that long ago, in 2014. And then I worked for Diabetes Canada, and I just kind of did my own thing after that, and kind of, here we are. And my main passions besides nutrition probably has to be soccer. It's like my number one thing. Yeah.
Perfect. So
very
fun.
Awesome. Also a fellow soccer player here, but I have not played since I did intramural in college, but besides that,
the skills never leave. It's all good.
That's true. It's like riding a bike. Well, today we really want to talk to Andy all about blogging and writing, because that is something Andy has really excelled at. So to get us started, Andy, tell us about sort of your experience with blogging and writing and how you sort of got started doing that.
Yeah, so when I started out all those years ago, it was a bit different than it is now. These days, when you're kind of trying to do your own thing on Instagram, there's way more examples. There's it's kind of, let's just say it's a more clear cut what you might do if you want to pursue doing your own thing on social or having your own business. When I started, 5-6 years ago, maybe there were people there, maybe I just wasn't paying attention, but in my mind, I kind of thought, I'm going to write my way into opportunities. That was kind of my strategy, because I always loved writing. And I kind of always envisioned myself writing books and kind of being known for my writing. And so, I just made myself a free website and I started writing blogs. And then I used Instagram, even though I use it differently in a sense now, in the same way. I use it to kind of educate and promote my writing, and it's almost always connected to writing, even if it's just some random joke or whatever. It's almost always connected to writing, and so it's always been like that for me. And it kind of worked out. The writing did create a lot of opportunities for me, and so that's kind of how it kind of got started.
Cool. Yeah, we've been following your writing entire journey for a couple years now, and it's been really cool to see how much what kind of different content you put out. And then we were very new to kind of anything nutrition related, especially with writing, because I don't think I see a lot of dietitian writers honestly on social media. So it's really cool to see you're very passionate about that, and you're able to use your nutrition background and educate in that way.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it's just, hopefully I'll be an example, hopefully I'm a decent example for people who are into writing. Not everyone is, and that's fair enough. And obviously there's so many other avenues like podcasting, which is super cool. And I said before it started, I knew both of you guys for a while, and it's funny that eventually at some point I figured out you guys knew each other. And so that's, now here we are. So it's a fun little journey, all the social media stuff.
It's so funny. Well, yeah, I feel like the dietitian blogging community is definitely growing, and I feel like you're like the OG RD bloggers. So that's pretty cool.
Nice.
Pretty
I'll
cool.
take that. I'll take that for sure.
Yeah. So kind of leading into our next question, we've covered a bit of this already, but why do you think blogging is so important, and how can it help dietitians and dietetic students if they were interested in it?
Yeah. Okay. So I think there's a few things. I mean, first and foremost, I mean, it's a very good professional development tool, right? So even independent of anything else, when you research and you write about things, you get a better level of mastery over the content, right? And so then the more people that you encounter, the more opportunities you have to, like, flex your knowledge and show it off, right? And the more you write, the more diverse your knowledge array is, the more impressive you're going to become as a health professional. So independent of anything else, that's really valuable. But of course, there's much more than that, right? Because, when you have a website and you write, well, there's SEO. You know what I mean? You could an article of yours could catch on the front page and get like crazy views. And that's happened to me, a bunch of times. That's one thing. Of course, it generates opportunities for you because there's lots of companies who, want to pay you to write, whether that's books or paid posts and stuff like that. So it adds so much variety to your routine, depending on kind of how you like to operate. For me, I really enjoy variety, right? So I like the fact I can make money different ways and blah, blah, blah. Like I could write one day, I could talk to people all day one day, or I could write all day another day. And it's equally functional for how I kind of run things, right? So those are some of the things. And finally, as you guys can appreciate, the social game is increasingly important these days, right? And the thing is, I think that maybe some people don't appreciate is, like, if you write an article, like one article could be 10 to 15 Instagram posts. You know what I mean? When you dive into the topic in deep detail, you can really, like, use that and then translate that to a lot of Instagram content. So it's deeply connected. It's not one or the other, right? It's not like you write or you do Instagram, or you write or you do a podcast or whatever the case may be. You know what I mean? And heck, if you do a lot of writing, well, you're gonna have more things to talk about. If someone brings you on as a guest on a podcast, you're gonna have more areas of expertise. You know what I mean? So there's all sorts of fun benefits. Those are just like a scratch on the surface. Obviously, like, you get to write books, which is, what I did. I didn't get to write books for any other reason besides I kind of committed to writing, and people found me and kind of offered me these opportunities because I put a lot of effort into it. So, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I feel like people sometimes view like social media as a whole, and like blogging included in that, as like a very surface level thing. Like, oh, you just like post stuff and you just write stuff. But like, if you use it to like actually build a business and like you have a strategy, there's a lot that goes into it. Like you just said, like trying to figure out how to turn that blog into 15 Instagram posts, and like how can you connect all those things so you're not just spending hours and hours and hours completing just all sorts of different types of content. So I think that's a really good point that you made, that it can just be used for a lot of things, and social media really is, and blogging along with that is like a business in itself. It's a lot of work.
Yeah, it is. You have to want it, right? You have to, it depends. It all depends what you want to get out of what you're doing. And there's lots of different things that could be the answer to that question. If it's purely financial motivated, if it's for professional development, it's not for everyone, but for the right person, it's a really, really good compliment. And certainly for people who enjoy writing, you can open a lot of doors for yourself. If you're already good at it, you'd be ashamed not to, because that's the hardest part. It's the barrier to entry, is to like write effectively and efficiently, and not like, be able to get the most out of it for, the least amount of time, in a sense, because time is limited for everyone, obviously.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, all that being said, we know you have calligraphy, your program.
Mhm.
So kind of along with that, how can dietitians and dietetic students get started with blogging and writing? Since we do know that it can be a really important tool for career development and for your own personal business, whatever it might be for that individual.
Yeah, well, I mean, for any, well, I guess that's kind of two questions, right? So let's say let's divide it. Like the first one is for any given person who wants to start writing. Well, you need a website, let's just say, which is these days is very easy to make, right? You can make a free website that's really, really good. I mean, I made a crappy free one all those years ago. Now I have a good one, that like a decent one anyway, at the very least, that someone else made. But like, I mean, back in the day, I made a horrendous one. These days, a lot of like people who work with me, like on their writing, they just make free ones and they're perfectly fine. They generate a ton of business with just like a kind of free website they made for themselves. So that's number one. And number two is like, you gotta write your first article before you write your 10th article, right? Sometimes what happens with writing is people don't, the first few pieces of content go under the radar, but then you cross that tipping point, let's say, and then all of a sudden people are interested in all your other ones. And that's kind of what happened with me. So you know, if you have a subject area that's really important to you that you intend to be an expert on and to teach people on anyway, well, it's just natural that you would, you know, explore it via writing. And that's exactly, you know, and to your question about calligraphy, that, you know, all these things I've mentioned so far, you know, figuring out what to write about, how to write effectively, how to turn writing into social media content. That's what I basically coach people on, you know. So it's not like you're going to abandon everything else, just write all the time and be like a hermit, but like how you're going to use your writing in the most effective way, and how you're going to write in the most effective fashion so that you can like actually keep it up as a sustainable activity. And writing is also like really rewarding, independent, like not just professionally, but it's just like a relaxing activity, right? Like, and the sense of accomplishment after completing a piece of writing is pretty cool as well. So
Yes.
in my opinion.
So good. Well, why don't you use this time to like kind of talk about where our listeners can find you, maybe plug calligraphy and whatever else you want to talk about.
Yeah, sure. So yeah, I mean, first of all, you know, so obviously on Instagram, that's, you know, Andy DRD. I do have a calligraphy Instagram page at calligraphy 101. And like that, right now, that page is neither here nor there. I'm using it to show off my clients' writing because like a big part of, you know, actually, this is actually a great conversation point because even for, and I'll be interested to ask you guys as well. But let me ask you guys a question. So you guys make these podcasts, right? Because I'm not as familiar with podcasting. So you make these podcasts and, you know, obviously you need guests, you need topics to talk about, but then, and just like writing, you know what I mean? You know, these things are similar, but then the promotion is very interesting, right? So like, you know, what steps, let me ask you this and I'll answer it from my end. What steps do you guys take once you have a blog, a podcast out to promote it? Like, what have you, and I'm sure this is an ongoing process, you're probably learning what the best practices, but yeah, why don't you guys tell me the answer to that?
Yes. Well, it definitely is ever changing. We're little baby podcasters trying to figure out how to navigate all this. But I do think that social media has been our best tool so far. I think it'd be really great for us. I guess, Emily, while we're talking about this, we should have a blog in the future about like our podcasts that are transcripted and eventually like send that out. We have a newsletter that we use to promote, you know, what's coming up, what just came out last month. But I definitely would say that social media is the biggest thing where we kind of just post about what's coming up and also what has already been released. And like what you were saying earlier, back to that like 15 posts per podcast thing or per blog, it definitely applies to this too, where we have like anywhere from 30-minute to hour and a half long episodes that we can yank like tons of content from, which is awesome. But yeah, I'd say it's probably the biggest thing. Emily, anything to add to that?
I think one of the biggest things I've seen with podcast promotion is just incorporating like snippets of it. Hannah and I talk about this all the time, but with how social media has been changing, especially recently, we've noted that when we actually include examples of the different episodes, people really are become more interested and invested once they see that, rather than us just posting. Either we have to make a really good podcast episode title or we have a really good snippet. It's just trying to grab attention very quickly. And I think videos is one of the best ways to go for podcasts, especially.
Yeah, no, that's cool. And I didn't ask to, yeah, I asked just for my curiosity. So it's funny because titles obviously in writing are very important, right? Not only for, you know, SEO to have a chance to rank on Google, but also for people to be interested, because you can write the same piece of content and, you know, and how it's phrased. If the title is more compelling, it can totally change the whole outlook as to whether or not people are interested in it or really understand what it's about. And, you know, even just asking that question, that even gave me an idea, you know, because, and you guys can tell me if this happens to you, but sometimes with my writing, sometimes I rarely go back and read my old articles, but sometimes I'll read stuff I wrote and I'm like, oh damn, you know, this is good, this is well written, this is good stuff, you did good. And then you know, and then in the way, and sometimes you come and you guys might find listen to your old episodes, like maybe, you know, some are like, oh wow, this really came off, you know, really the way we wanted, it was really sweet. But even to what you said, like I could easily as well take quotes from my own articles, because sometimes I assemble some nice sentences. I'm like, all right, this is damn, that's nice. I could use that as a post. I could use that as a post as well. So that's kind of cool, right? And so that's a fun idea. And now on my end, even for calligraphy, and one of the things I've learned as well, because I've had a really good intern helping with calligraphy and writing stuff, is Facebook can be really effective for promoting writing. And one of the big things I do for my clients, because at the end of the day, like for writing clients specifically, you know, yeah, you want to learn how to write. Yeah, you want professional development, but yeah, we also want that outcome, like that, you know, that like financial reward, or those are business prospects, right? And so one of the biggest things I've learned over the last year is how effective Facebook can be for sharing written content. You know, I you know, some posts that I've written which have got some some decent traction, whether via Google, whether via newsletter, whether via Instagram, all the things that you guys mentioned, they explode on Facebook. So Facebook is very, you know, so if you had a podcast on, I don't know, let's just say for the sake of argument, on collagen, right? You know, or I don't know, on endometriosis, which is more specific. You know, if you shared that episode on an endometriosis support group, that's a very smart strategy. And a lot of, and so this is something I've learned, and this is something I now do for my calligraphy clients. And so just to give more detail, like one of my clients who is a IBD dietitian from Texas, you probably, name is Ashley, I've promoted her a couple different times on my page because we've actually done a lot of writing together. You know, because IBD is one of those conditions where like it has like severe quality of life, significant quality of life implications. People are like really clamoring for information on it. So I shared her work, and I mean, it got really good traction, really good feedback. You know, even in the testimonial she wrote for me, she was citing how, you know, how people reached out, doctors reached out to her about her posts and stuff like that. So just an example, it's just an example of, you know, that writing can be, you know, compelling, and not just for the sake of it, but also from the business perspective. And yeah, so I mean, at this point, I'm just kind of rambling a little bit about calligraphy and writing stuff, but yeah, hopefully some interesting food for thought for you guys, and as well for anyone listening who, you know, maybe isn't utilizing that method of marketing, free marketing, which I honestly didn't utilize until recently.
We didn't even think of that. Like there are
Like-
literally support groups for different things going on.
Yeah.
And we've been like, if you have trouble finding your like target audience or the right people that you want to find your content, when there are like groups for that. That's
yeah. Like for example, like,
yeah.
for this podcast, let's just say this is about writing, you know, you might go to some dietitian groups on Facebook and like, why should dietitians write? We talked to Andy about this. Cool. Like that would be smart. If you talk to, I don't know, like a PCOS dietitian, it would be really smart to share that link in PCOS groups, right? And so like, this could be like, I mean, I don't know whether you guys are doing that not or now, and I don't know the nature of your episodes going forward, but this would be very smart for you guys to do, right? And that's something I do for my.
We're getting some free advice.
I love the strategy session we're having right now.
Yeah, and this is the kind of stuff I would tell to my calligraphy clients, even if we're just talking, even if we're not working together yet, like I'll just put them up on that and say, listen, like, you know, I really go, because I work with a limited number of people, and I really push them to work hard, because like my main thing is just to show them that writing can be impactful, and that it really can be a big benefit, and people can read your work. They will read your work, and you will. And Facebook's a great way, because, you know, if you're sharing in a support group on Facebook, it's a very intense niche community. On Instagram, like it gets lost, because if you don't have the flash, you know what I mean? You know, it's totally different. You know, it's like you can make a joke or a meme that's then about a very serious post, and because the meme was funny, then people are interested in the post. And it's not always about, you know, the purity aspect of just nutrition knowledge and stuff, like you have to have the flash involved, or like the reels or whatever. But in the Facebook setting, in a support group setting or specific group setting, it's really conducive to sharing information with people who really need it. So yeah,
that's awesome.
There you go.
Yeah, don't get us started on Instagram. We're all
right.
Instagram's dead to us, but we took, for those reasons you just explained, like, it's kind of crazy.
No, and I understand. I mean, I've been on Instagram for a long time, and yeah, I mean, I get it. Like it's what it is, right? It's tough. Yeah. It's tough out there. It's tough to compete. And certainly some of the things you have to do to compete these days it's like questionable. So that's how it is.
Yeah. Well, I love the point you made about like how the writing can be powerful, and you obviously want it to be too. So like you write these really great articles and you want them to get seen. So it's so good to have someone like you who's telling people you're working with exactly what steps to take so those actually are getting read, because that's of course the end goal that you want. So that's such good advice. I love that.
Yeah, especially when you're starting out. You know, I had a call today with a new calligraphy client, and like when you're starting out, especially, it really is a good way to demonstrate your commitment and your expertise. You know what I mean? Because writing does take a little bit of extra effort, but it will make you much more impressive as a speaker as well. Because when you write something, you master that knowledge, you can speak on it better. That's what people don't realize. And also Ashley, who was kind enough to like write, she also literally said exactly that as well. And this is not something I was aware of, but when someone else you work with actually puts it out there, you realize, oh yeah. So when you write about something, you're gonna be able to speak about that topic at a higher level. It doesn't just sit there and exist, whatever. Like it's gonna make you better every day as a result. So it's not as if writing about something is the only way to acquire that knowledge, but it is really effective. You know, like reading is great, but reading, processing, and writing, that's a whole other level. right? And then that content's
yeah.
always there for you to go back on. So you're not pulling up a Google article on a subtopic. You actually have that. You can tell, you could, with a client, you could pull up your article with a client and be like, oh, I've read on this before. Let's go through it together. And that's a very powerful thing to do. That makes, that's very impressive to people you work with. And yeah, so.
So true. And like,
yeah.
sorry, Emily, go ahead.
I was going to say kind of, I definitely feel like that resonated with us where like, I know like writing is much more, I feel like almost eloquent where you're really intentional about all of the like sentences you're forming and stuff like that. But I've also found that with like the podcast, I guess kind of similarly, when we've really had to delve into different topics, like I feel much more confident. So it's almost like the part of like the education of like, we know a lot of these things, but once you go further to like try to translate it into a format for either like the general public to understand or a certain group, it really does extend upon that further knowledge and you'll feel even more confident. It is really valuable. And plus, like you said, like articles don't disappear, which is really cool. Like they're always going to be there.
Yeah. And more than that, if you put the right tools in place, like if you work with someone like myself or somebody or someone else in that realm, like it's more than that. They could rank highly on Google, and then that leads you to crazy opportunities. Like, just again, just so people understand, like, I wrote an article for Ferromax, which is like an iron supplement. And so, yeah, that's an example of an opportunity I got from writing. But in the end, I actually got like that article caught high on Google, and then it was getting 50,000 visits a month, which is like pretty crazy.
Oh my gosh.
You know what I mean? For a blog post, when presumably people don't read blog posts or they don't read things, right? And so that just generated massive traffic to my website. And so when you write content, if you're smart about articles, you can say, listen, this is a problem that you have, like you want to learn more, like we can work together, right? So it can be an integral part of the process. And also the other cool thing about writing, I guess we'll let people know is, let's just say there's audio and video, which obviously is very good. Obviously podcasts are awesome. I love listening to podcasts as well. But one cool thing about writing that's advantageous is if you structure it properly. Like if someone goes to, let's say you have a podcast or a blog post on let's say PCOS as an example, just use that. If you structure an article properly, an individual can go to the tidbit of information they want, take it right away and leave. Whereas like if it's audio or video, like, yeah, you can earmark things, but you still have to like let the person like shoot the words out at their own little slow pace. You know what I mean? You can't just take the information right away. And so like, I think writing definitely has that advantage. Now, obviously, like, yeah, Instagram, infographics and stuff do too, but like, that's like bare minimum elaboration and discussion of actual science, right? It's literally just, so there's some limitations there, but that's why Instagram and writing are cool, because Instagram can capture the highlights of the writing, and the writing, you can capture that same ability to get the information quick. So yeah, just some things to think about for anyone out there who might be thinking about writing and the advantages of it, and just to know that it's a thing.
Yeah, such a good point. You can't control F a podcast like you can on a website and just like find what you're looking for. That is a very good perk. Yeah,
and there's obviously advantages to podcasts too. Like I could be
like
working out and listening to it, and like that's awesome, right? Like that's super cool. So yeah, and there's pros and cons, obviously, everything.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Well, Andy, I apologize. I did not send you the bonus question ahead of time, so I'm really throwing this on you.
Yep.
But
all good.
I think it's a good time for our bonus question. So we always do this at the end, and we kind of have a little debate or a conversation about what we think. But our bonus question today that I failed to tell you ahead of time, and so you have to just think right now, is what is the best Starburst flavor?
Like of all candies and stuff, like Starburst, I was never really fond. Like I feel like I've obviously had had Starburst. Like, okay, you gotta ask me about like a different candy or something, because like I've had all sorts of different candy and chocolate and ice cream and stuff and cake, but like Starburst, I wouldn't be able to tell you. You know what I mean? Like I've had Starburst, but like, it's been so long, and it's just not like it was never up there for me.
Okay, what's one of your top favorite candies then that has like multiple flavors?
That has multiple flavors. Okay.
Do you like fruity things like that very much in general, or are you more of like a chocolate?
Good question. I like both. I mean, I had a lot of candy and chocolate, especially when I was in high school. So I don't know, like Swedish berries, fuzzy peaches, cherry blasters, had all of those. Those were good. Chocolate, Mars bar, Twix, Three Musketeers. I don't know. It's tough, right? Like I like all that stuff. I mean, I had some brownies and coffee flavored ice cream last night for Canadian Thanksgiving. That was delicious.
Ooh.
But yeah, I mean, Starburst flavor. I mean, if you ask me what's my favorite flavor of wine gum, I don't know, like anything but the licorice one, I guess. Like, I don't know, you know? So
You sound like me in literally every episode that we have. I like can never like exactly pinpoint my favorite anything because I just like everything.
I
But
like gummy candy. Don't get like I really do like gummy candies. Those are great. It's tough though. Yeah, it's a tough question. Mint chocolate is really good as well.
oh, I love mint
You
chocolate.
know,
Yeah.
that's
Okay,
pretty sweet.
how about then let's do like a gummy candy. Like, is there like sweet? Do you like Swedish
What are your
fish?
favorites? What are your guys' favorites? Let's start with that.
Starburst or gummy candy?
Gummy candy because I'm like
Moving on from that. Okay, moving on from that.
It's whatever for me. Yeah.
I do love a gummy peach. I think those are my favorites. The little peach rings.
Okay, like the sour ones. 'Cause
I don't love sour. I actually don't love
Okay.
sour ones or sour
Okay.
anything. I'm more of a sweet.
You guys might have different stuff too in the States because I know you guys have more
True.
products for everything.
This is-
So that's also
True.
part of it. Yeah.
I like sour gummy worms.
Okay,
lot.
cool. Yeah. I like gummy worms, the cola bottles, those are good. It's like to pick one isn't
Oh,
to pick one is
yeah.
impossible, right? Because
Right.
first of all, they'll taste the same essentially. For the most part.
They do, yeah.
You know, I mean, no, gummy worms are pretty sweet though. Swedish berries for sure. I mean, yeah, for most of my teenage years, Swedish berries was the closest thing I was probably eating to berries. So, you know, I mean, those are delicious.
Do we have those here, Emily? I've never heard of those before.
Are those like the black and red, like looking?
They're just red.
Like-
They're just red. They literally look like raspberries. They're by
they
company
have-
like they're owned by maybe Cadbury or Mainers or something. You
Huh.
guys might, yeah. You should literally Google Swedish
Are you
berries.
Googling it right now, Emily?
I'm Googling this right now.
Yeah.
Swedish berries. We have
Yeah,
Swedish
those-
fish, but I've never heard of Swedish
Yeah. I
berries.
think it's the same. It's the same company. Those are probably tasty as well. I'm sure they are.
Oh, I think I've
I don't
seen
know if
these.
we have. They remind me of fruit snacks.
Huh.
Maybe they're. Oh yeah, Maynard.
We're also probably like a slightly different generation, so it could be like that. What was available
That's-
maybe it's like transition to slightly different candy. You know what I mean?
True.
Cadbury mini eggs.
Oh, those are good.
Yes.
Those are good.
Cadbury
yes.
cream eggs.
So good.
Yes.
Those are also exceptional.
Anything
Yeah,
like
yeah.
Reese's, like peanut butter kind of thing.
I was never into Reese's peanut butter cups myself.
What?
No, I do like peanut butter, but no, Reese's peanut butter cups, not so much. Smarties are all right for sure.
I can't get into the Smarties. That's
I was
hilarious.
gonna say, if you said Smarties, I was be like, what kind of
Yeah.
candy do you like?
Right. Well, Smarties combines candy and chocolate, right? Mini eggs are better though. There's just something about the shell
Oh,
and just like those you have those around, it's gonna be a party.
Yeah.
You can't,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? That's not. Yeah. Oh,
Ah.
I was a real candy connoisseur. Like, I don't really talk about this kind of stuff on social media, but it's kind of fun. I was like a real candy connoisseur, especially when I was a teenager.
Oh yeah.
So you know, I love all that stuff. So
Oh, absolutely.
yeah. I had a brownie. I'm just like this. Sorry, I'm forgetting. This is completely irrelevant at this point, but kind
That's
of relevant.
okay.
I had a brownie. I had a piece of like last time I was eating a piece of chocolate cake and a brownie, and like the brownie was so sweet. The chocolate cake tasted like a neutral flavor by comparison.
Oh my
like it just tasted
gosh.
like it was just like neutral. I was like, wow, this is very
What?
interesting. Yeah, you ever had that where you have like two different desserts and one's so sweet, the other one literally doesn't even stimulate.
Yeah.
your
I
palate?
definitely know what you mean. Yeah.
I don't think I've ever had that experience until last night. It was very interesting.
So you were
Yeah.
having both cake and a brownie at the same time. In what situation was that happening?
It was like I guess it was for dessert for like Canadian Thanksgiving.
Oh right.
Oh, okay, that's right. Okay.
Yeah. I had my kale later in the evening though, so don't worry about that. But
Oh yeah, I
Yeah.
wasn't worried about that. Definitely not
Yeah.
judging, but
yeah.
that's funny.
Well, yeah, there you go. There's some. I've never talked about my my love for candy and chocolate on a podcast before, so there you go. It's
Now
inside
the world
information.
knows.
Not a
Whatever.
secret, but it's just like doesn't come up. that
They've
much.
been
No one
dying
wants-
to know
no
what
one wants
Andy.
to ask.
Yeah, they've been dying to know what Andy the Artie's favorite
Yeah.
candy is. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
now I can just refer them here.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I gotta dig deep to think if there's anything else, but that's it. McCain chocolate cake is also very good. Like it's like that cheap chocolate cake. It's like it's
Ooh.
amazing.
I know what you
Doesn't have to
mean.
be doesn't have to be fancy.
No.
I feel
know,
like
so.
pizza and cake, like they're both almost always good, even if they're not like fancy.
Yeah, that's true. I'll tell you, whatever. I'll just tell you a funny story because this will be whatever. I mean, at this point, I haven't. I had a whole pizza when I was during my March break in high school. While I was watching a soccer match. I got so ill that I couldn't bring myself to really have any meaningful amount of pizza since. So that would have been like whatever 15 years ago or something. So I haven't had like a significant. Like, I mean, I've obviously had a little bit here and there, but I've had a significant amount of pizza since that day where I got really ill when I had a whole pizza.
Oh my
Well,
gosh.
I mean, understandable.
So
Yeah,
that's another
definitely.
fun fact. Another fun fact for you.
That's really sad. I literally
Good
ordered
work,
pizza for tonight. Like it's waiting downstairs for me right now.
Well, what kind of pizza is your favorite? Is your guys' favorite?
Oh gosh, that's a really hard question. Well, Emily lives near Chicago, so pizza is like a very big part of her life.
Okay.
I'll really eat anything. Like we have Papa John's tonight. Like I'll eat any kind of
Right.
pizza.
Yeah, I don't think we have Papa John's in Canada. Did
Mm.
Peyton Manning do? You guys are from Indiana, right?
Well, I am.
Indianapolis?
Emily's
Okay.
from Illinois.
Mhm.
Illinois. Okay. Didn't Peyton Manning do advertisements for Papa John's?
I think so.
I used to
Yeah.
love Peyton Manning. Like I used to like the Colts back in the. I don't know. It's also kind of irrelevant, but there you go. Yeah, this is not. It's just not
We're
more
learning
than
so much.
more than nutrition. I was on. I'm gonna tell you guys something else since we're just might as well just enjoy
We're just
this.
shooting the shit now.
at this
Yeah.
point. Yeah, I mean, I was excited for the fancy in Indianapolis because that sign that is there. I'm like,
Yes.
am I gonna take a sign? I'm gonna cross my arms to get
Oh,
like
the
Andy
indie
sign.
sign.
Yeah, I was like hyped up about that, but
I know. I was sad because it's only like 2 hours away from where I live. I
Right.
live like a little bit north. And I was like, oh, finally, I don't have to like drive for 8 hours to go to the darn thing. But maybe in the next decade or so.
Orlando. I'm definitely gonna go to that one. So
I think we were planning on it too. So we'll have to see you there.
Yeah. Did you guys go to Washington D.C.? I was at that one.
I didn't go to DC. I
We
went to
not.
Philly.
Yeah, we went to
Okay.
Philly.
Okay. I did not go to Philly. I did
That
not go to
was
Philly. Yeah.
2019, right, Emily?
Yeah.
Yeah, because 2020 was Indy. Okay.
Yeah. Fancy was awesome. It was a good time. I'll definitely
Oh, yeah.
Orlando. Like I've never been to. I've always wanted to go to Disney World, so it's just like
That's what we were
Oh,
saying. We
yeah.
were
no,
yeah.
it's perfect. It's also very warm there. I mean, you got the weather where we live is probably very similar. So by October, it dips, but Orlando's very warm. I already
Yeah.
looked into it. So
You already
Yeah.
looked into it.
yeah.
That's
So
awesome.
there you go. Yeah. So there you go. A little bit of writing, a little bit of fun. There you go.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the joy. This is the joy of podcast. I guess you can't really pull this off blogging. So
That's
there you
true.
go.
It's just like go
Well,
off
if
about
you
candy.
do, it's like, oh, here, let me talk about the serious nutrition topic. You just trail off talking about nonsense. Yeah. it doesn't
Talking
work
about
well.
gummy
No.
berries.
No.
Yeah.
That's funny. Well, Andy,
yeah.
where can our listeners find you? What's the best place for them to go to?
Yeah, well, and what I appreciate if people would follow me on Calligraphy 101, which is my calligraphy Instagram page, because I'm trying to grow that. And then Andy the RD at Instagram and andytherd.com, andytherd.com/blog. Yeah, those are the places to find me. And if you liked what I had to say about writing and you might be interested to work with me, then reach out and we can talk. I'm a good time to work with, as you can. If you didn't figure that out yet, then
Oh,
hopefully
yeah.
you realize that, but definitely after today. But yeah, otherwise, yeah, that's it. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Yes, we will link
Absolutely.
all of those in our description. So if you guys
Sweet.
need them, that's where they'll be.
Awesome.
All right, Andy. Well, thank you so much for being on the pod. We truly appreciate it. We'll definitely have to have you back on for more food conversations, it sounds like.
Yep. Yeah, that'd be fun. Just let me know. I'll be glad to.
Absolutely. Alrighty. Thank you everyone for tuning in today's episode. We hope you tune back in again next week. Other
There
than
you
that, have a great rest of your day.
Nice job, Emily.
Alrighty.
Okay, bye, guys.
All right, bye.
Thank you so much for tuning in on this episode of the Up-Beet Dietitians with your hosts, Emily Krause and Hannah Thompson.
We appreciate you all so much for continuing to support us. In order to support us and sustain the success of this podcast, please subscribe and leave a rating and review.
If you'd like to provide us feedback for future episodes and guest stars, follow us on Instagram at the Up-Beet Dietitians.
Lastly, you can show us support by providing a monthly donation using the link at the end of our bio.
Once again, thank you so much for listening today and stay tuned next Wednesday for a new episode. Until then, we hope you have a wonderful rest of your week.